Now, I'm not being funny, right, guys, but if I was Hired Attacker, the lead developer of Elden Ring, and FromSoftware came to me and said, we're going to make a public announcement to all the fans constantly asking for easy mode, what are you going to do, Hired Attacker? I'd say no. Fucking no. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Zealwood, and Elden Ring easy mode. Like, what? What's all that about? What's all that about? Right, so back in January 28th of this year, before the game was even released, right? Miyazaki, one of the lead developers of Elden Ring, well, of Dark Souls and of the Souls universe, I should say, made an official announcement, right, on the PlayStation blog, saying, so people are asking him how hard is the game going to be? Is there going to be an easy mode? And it says, yes, we have considered an easy mode. It's a valid discussion. I feel like our approach to these games, not just Elden Ring, is to design them to encourage the player to overcome adversity, right? We don't try to force difficulty or make things hard for the sake of it. We want players to use their cunning, study the game, memorize what's happening, and learn from their mistakes, right? So it's safe to say that his opinion on easy mode is no. We're not doing easy mode, and I respect that, right? I respect it. This was back in January. There's another post, right? So this is the official announcement from FromSoftware. This was last month. People again asking for easy mode. So this, yeah, again, let's just put it out there now, right? Elden Ring is not an impossible game, right? I would even categorize it as an exceptionally hard game. But then, you know, keep in mind, there's no way to measure difficulty, really. Elden Ring, I would consider all Dark Souls related games, well, specifically Elden Ring now, right? I would say Elden Ring is a challenging game. It's tough. It's tough from the perspective that it requires you to learn the opponent's, the boss's, enemies' animations, dodge accordingly, manage your stamina, and various other things, healing, damage, whatever, which I cover all in my review, so I do recommend checking that out, right? So, like, I wouldn't say Elden Ring is a difficult game. I wouldn't say it's a exceptionally hard game. Elden Ring is challenging, right? The retry aspect, so if you die on a boss, right? Okay, the boss fight lasts, what? 2 minutes, 3 minutes, on average. You die. It takes, if you resurrect at a shrine, okay, it takes, what? 40 seconds to get back to the boss and you try again. So from a muscle memory perspective, that's pretty decent. I would say it's a fair challenge, you know, because it doesn't punish you. It just says, okay, you died. Well, here you go, try again. Here you go, try again. Try again, try again, try again. Eventually you get it. Now, hard games is something like Monster Hunter World Arc-Tempered Monsters, which are 30-minute fights. Solo, mind. So this is purely from a solo perspective. 30-minute fights, and you get 3 lives, right? And I'm telling you now, that is hard because it's so, the retry aspect is very uncooperative. If you die, you've got to start all over again, and it's another 30-minute fight, and that's on average. That's what I would consider hard. And then you've got unfair then, which is just games like, oh, here's a good example, Street Fighter 2, right, on the SNES. Oh my god, put that on hardest difficulty, and the game is designed to be unfair. It will manipulate game mechanics to beat you. Now that is unfair, which I would say it's hard for game developers these days to juggle between unfair, hard, and challenging, right? From my perspective. But then this is from the perspective of someone that I personally enjoy playing games on the hardest difficulty. Well, the whole point of this video, right, I thought to myself, I may as well make a couple of tips, right? Because if people are really, really struggling with Elden Ring, and that's what I mean, like, it's a challenging game. Like, when I say challenging, that doesn't mean it's easy. So you got unfair, hard, challenging, and then you got fucking 9 other brackets underneath challenging, you know? So Elden Ring is not an easy game by any stretch of the word. It's not even a medium game. It's definitely not a casual game, you know, because it takes some level of concentration. you got to be in the zone. You got to time those dodges correctly. You got to manage your stamina efficiently, heal, find items, upgrade. Don't mess up your leveling stats, right? So it's not an easy game, but like I said, I'll give you some tips. If you are really struggling. So tip number 1, right? Prioritize leveling up your vigor, your HP bar, right? Because I find a lot of casual players don't understand how important vigor actually is. So I know guys, it's tempting. If you're playing a strength build, you want to bump all your points into strength because more damage means quicker kills. But not necessarily. Think about it. If you take 2 hits and you're dead, you can't even get a chance to heal. Ideally, before you even get to the last boss, right, you should have at least 60 points in vigor if you're really struggling. Because the more HP you have, the easier it is to stay alive because you've got more opportunities to heal with your flasks, So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, now when you go into a brand new area, you shouldn't really, right? I wouldn't recommend this because it does kill the immersion, right? I don't recommend looking up advice online, personally. If you follow a guide, like, what's the point of playing the game if you're going to follow a guide? You may as well watch a speedrun. But what I will say is if you are really, really, really struggling, when you go to a new area, just look up where the golden seeds, right, and the sacred tears are. Because, again, this is part and parcel with higher vigor. The higher your HP, the more flasks you have, and the more your flask heals each time you swig it, right? It's going to make the game a lot fucking easier, especially if you get one shot, because you've invested no points into vigor. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, right? Try to roll into enemy attacks as opposed to away from them. For example, if someone with their left hand does a sweeping claw attack, try to roll into the direction that the attack came from. So if my attack is coming from my left side, roll into my left if I were the boss in this example. So it doesn't work in all cases, right? If the boss is, ground pounding or casting a spell or whatever. But generally, the rule of thumb is that's the best option. And especially, you'd be surprised that you may think that being further away from the enemy is safer. And not necessarily. If the boss is larger and it has big recovery frames, as it's coming back out of an attack to attack you again, it's most of the time safer to be next to them, or behind them, or to the left or the right. You find the further you move away from bosses, a lot of them have charge attacks where they'll just fucking charge at you and slam you. Literally. So try to avoid, you want to be a bit more confident. You find that running away trying to heal will get you killed more than being hyper aggressive. It depends on the boss, of course, and it depends on your skill level as a player. But again, rule of thumb, roll into attacks as opposed to away from them. And tip number 4, if you're really, really, really struggling, right, and you just want to beat the game by any means necessary, you don't care about playing a dex character, faith character, sorceries, pyromancies, whatever. You just want to beat the game as quickly as possible and as easily as possible, right? With no immersion whatsoever. You just want to copy someone else. I would highly recommend going down the strength route, which means big fucking heavy weapons, right? And either spamming jump attacks on the opponent, dual wielding colossus swords or great swords or something really heavy and big and slow, dual wielding them, and using R2. Now, you may think in a boss fight where it's extremely fast-paced and you're trying to avoid damage, R2s, right, if you can get R2s off and jump attacks, you will stagger the opponent a lot more often than if you R1 them. Just normal attack. The same applies for dual wielding. If you're dual wielding Colossus Blades, or if you're dual wielding great swords, claymores, whatever, you'll start to hit the boss's stagger maximum more often, which will cause them to kneel down or something, and then you walk up to them, press R1, and you do the riposte. The boss riposte, we'll call it, right? But other than that, that's pretty much it. I didn't want to go over the board on the tips, but as long as you stick to these few little bits of advice, you'd be surprised how more efficient you'll play. And, another thing, right? if there's all different kinds of skill levels out there, but it's you can't measure how good someone is at game, really. You know, a lot of it's opinion based, right? I could say I'm the best gamer in the world, but how would I measure it? You know, it's opinion. The way I see it, right? At the end of the day, if I'm holding a controller in my hands and you're holding a controller in your hands, and the world champion of Smash is holding a controller in his hand, right? We're all made of the same flesh, the same material. We all eat junk food, you know, we all shit in a toilet, right? It's like we're all human beings. The only thing that makes him better than you, or you better than me, is muscle memory, right? Comfort, how comfortable I am, my confidence, right? Persistence. Persistence is key, boys and girls. Persistence is fucking key, right? It's as simple as that. Simple as that. So don't get discouraged. If you throw enough shit at a wall, it'll stick, right? If you attempt the boss enough times, you'll do it, and then you feel satisfied. So, from that perspective, I know it's a really strange, really strange analogy, right? But no, like I said, like that used to motivate me when I was fucking really young as a kid. I used to think, well, why are they better than me if I you know, we've got the same size thumbs? You know, the buttons on the controller aren't different; they're all fucking same. So, you know, hopefully that causes some motivation within you, right? If you want to do it, guys, you fucking do it, right? And then you'll feel satisfied after it. And that feeling of satisfaction is the same reason I enjoy playing hard games. Because if the game's too easy, I don't get it. If the game's really hard, and then I do it, oh, it feels fucking awesome. Feels awesome. You can do it if you put your mind to it. It's as simple as that, guys. And imagine after all that persistence, all that hard work, and you complete the game on your own, imagine the satisfaction you'd get from that. Oh, pat yourself on the back, guys. You fucking deserve it. And that's from me, right? You fucking deserve it. But as always, guys, all the best. Take care.